Republican Senator Mike Lee just brought a really interesting prop into the Senate floor. He literally brought a painting of Ronald Reagan riding a velociraptor that's holding an American flag. Take a look.
Fear has become an all too prevalent quality in American political discourse. And unfortunately, fear is unavoidable when debating the substance of the resolution before this body today. That is climate change, socialism, and the Green New Deal. On entering this debate, I have a little fear in my heart as well. But, Mr. President, my fear at this moment may be just a little different than that of some of my colleagues. Unlike some of my colleagues, I'm not immediately afraid of what carbon emissions unaddressed might do to our environment in the near-term future, or our civilization, or our planet in the next few years. Unlike others, I'm not immediately afraid of what the Green New Deal would do to our economy and our government. After all, this isn't going to pass. Not today, not anytime soon, certainly. Rather, after reading the Green New Deal, I'm mostly afraid of not being able to get through this speech with a straight face. For Mr. President, I rise today to consider the Green New Deal with the seriousness it deserves. This is, of course, a picture of former President Ronald Reagan naturally firing a machine gun while riding on the back of a dinosaur. You'll notice a couple of important features here. First of all, the rocket launcher strapped to President Reagan's back, and then the stirring, unmistakable patriotism of the velociraptor holding up a tattered American flag, a symbol of all it means to be an American. Now, critics might quibble with this depiction of the climactic battle of the Cold War, because while awesome, in real life there was no climactic battle. There was no battle with or without velociraptors. The Cold War, as we all know, was won without firing a shot. But that quibble actually serves our purposes here today, Mr. President, because this image has as much to do with overcoming communism in the 20th century as the Green New Deal has to do with overcoming climate change in the 21st.
Nice. I'm not going to lie, I really like that political calculation that you just did there. That was really, really smart to pull in that giant poster. Let me explain why. First off, you have to understand I am 100% in favor of the Green New Deal, and I think that to not support the Green New Deal is immoral in one sense. So, like, I'm not suggesting that I support Mike Lee or anything like that. I definitely do not support Mike Lee. But this kind of stuff, guys, is what gets attention. And this is the kind of stuff that literally works. Because what he just did is he just trolled the Green New Deal with a giant poster of Ronald Reagan riding a velociraptor holding an American flag. That's brilliant. That's absolutely brilliant. It's so classy. Like, it's a classy way of saying your thing totally sucks. Right? Like, I would love to see senators go up to into the Senate on the Senate floor and say, your bill sucks so much it reminds me of this. Or like just like classy stuff like this. And understand this. When you watch C-SPAN, you fall asleep. When you watch the Senate floor, you fall asleep. I guarantee it. No one's ever watched more than 5 minutes of C-SPAN unless you're above the age of like 80, right? No one actually watches that and really like pays it much attention or even knows what's going on in many cases. But when you do stuff like this, you gain a lot of attention for yourself. People are going to look at this and they're going to be like, that's really interesting. Now, understand that this strategy is not as good as some other strategies, some other props that I've seen. I want to show you guys a famous video. Most of you have probably seen this before, but if you haven't, you absolutely should see this video. Take a look.
Of national attention, and in case we have forgotten, because we keep hearing that 2014 has been the warmest year on record, I asked the chair, you know what this is? It's a snowball, and that's just from outside here. So it's very, very cold out, very unseasonal. So here, Mr. President, catch this.
That was terrible. This guy is honestly a joke, right? Like, that was a really pathetic prop. It served no purpose, right? Because everyone responded with, yeah, just because you found snow, dude, doesn't mean that global warming isn't a thing. Like, global warming takes hundreds of years to really, inflict the crazy amounts of damage that's coming. We've only seen just a very small beginning of it. Right? We only see an increment of like 2.5 degrees Celsius every 100 years. But there's a long way to go, guys. We've already seen devastation, and it's just very minor relative to what's to come. This guy made a poor argument. He basically said, like, hey, I'm going to prove you guys wrong about climate change. Look, here's a snowball. Whereas when you have the other guy, let me pull him up real quick. He, instead of tackling the whole content of climate change, he just decides to pull out this painting and said, your bill is a joke, and here, let me make a really funny insult to your bill. That's pretty effective. That's actually really effective. Honestly, that's like a Trump style political calculation. And I really think that senators and representatives in Congress, especially progressives, should consider doing stuff like this. like just saying these Republicans, remind me of, and then throw a painting of, some vomit on the floor. Like, that's really stupid, but it's going to gain some really interesting attention. People are going to look at you and, realize that you just totally slammed a Republican or something like that. I'm not that clever, obviously. I'm not as clever as, honestly, this guy. But understand this. Consider Sacha Baron Cohen. Who is America? Why was that so overwhelmingly popular? Because Sacha Baron Cohen was a Class A troll. That guy did an amazing job of just completely undermining anyone's political career. Well, except Bernie Sanders, of course. But even with Bernie Sanders, Bernie Sanders felt really uncomfortable. You can make other people feel really uncomfortable about their policy positions, and you can garnish support even if what you're suggesting is not that great. So this guy is probably making a really good point and probably gaining a lot of people's views, or he's at least projecting his view in a really productive way, just because he's a troll. But unfortunately, we have this Congress that thinks that they have to be super classy, right? And that they have to, say really big words. But people don't care about that stuff, right? People care about three things. And this is, I tout this on almost at least half of my videos. There are three things that I care about for any politician. Who are your donors? What is your voting record? And what is your platform? Those three things alone I care about. Everything else I don't really care about. And so if you do something like this and you're a progressive, all right, fair game, total fair game. This guy just brought on a really interesting dynamic in Congress. And I hope this doesn't die. I hope people respond to Mike Lee using paintings of Ronald Reagan riding a velociraptor, stuff like this. There's so many opportunities for progressives right now. And if you don't seize that, I think we're missing a really great opportunity to make some really good, to project really good progressive values. Honestly, think of it this way. And I really want you to consider this. Name me one Bernie Sanders speech that you've listened to in the last week. Most people, and if you did, don't comment and say, oh, I viewed him. Most people would say, I haven't seen a speech from Bernie Sanders in the last week. I guarantee you, if Bernie Sanders did something like this, you would know in a heartbeat. Everyone would know. And all of a sudden, everyone's like, who's Mike Lee? Right? What's the Green New Deal? He just associated the Green New Deal with socialism. What's socialism? Like, people are going to start asking really interesting questions. And they're going to be looking at it from Mike Lee's view and not Bernie Sanders' view because, well, as much as I love Bernie Sanders, he is kind of boring. Like, he misses a dynamic that could really work well with his base, right? If he was a class A troll like this, or maybe I don't know. There's so many opportunities for Bernie Sanders to, work with his base and act like his base. Now, here's something I really need you guys to understand. I don't like it when people go overboard to try to prove their point or to try to be like us. So if someone tries to be a troll and they fail, like, everyone's going to make fun of you and you are going to be a laughingstock, right? And it's going to, everything that you just did worked against you. So for example, Kirsten Gillibrand with her, weights and the ranch t-shirt, like, that was a joke. Elizabeth Warren with her beer and her husband coming in and her basically saying thank you for being here, even though he lived there, right? That was all just ingenuine. But this kind of stuff is genuine, guys. This is really, really smart.